Hey, Planeswalkers, Mythras here. Hope you're doing well and staying safe. I got a great deck for you today. This, again, is a Platinum to Mythic 6+ win deck, Mono Blue Mill. I'm a huge fan of Mill. Many of you guys know that. Probably got a little fatigue with this set, but I still needed to cover a Mono Blue Mill deck, and that's what we're doing today with today's top deck. Now, I appreciate you taking the time to watch this video. I appreciate that support as well, so thank you. We do got a lot coming your way. We're going to talk about the main board. We'll talk about the sideboard. We'll pull those both together for you in a how-to guide for your best of 3 matches, and then we're going to go play some competitive Magic in both best of 1 and best of 3 today. I'm in Platinum, like tier 3 of the season just reset, so it's still hyper competitive. Generally like Mythic is. So I'm pretty excited about that. Now, before we go and check out this top deck, I just want to say thank you, Planeswalkers. I truly appreciate your support. I really do. Please feel free to subscribe to the channel down over there, as I'm trying to hit 10,000 subscribers this year. And additionally, like the video if you enjoyed it, learned something new, or just because you're a nice person like that. So anyway, let's go ahead and check out today's deck. But before we do so, the timestamps are available for you down below, so you can skip to the portion of the video that you'd like to watch. All right, so here's what we got. Like I said, we have a Platinum to Mythic 6+ win deck. I really like this version. As you guys know, I love covering other people's decks that are top, and additionally, I do have a couple considerations as well that we can talk about for this one here in a moment. But for those of you that are new, those of you that are returning, the deck list is available as always down below for you in the description. I have the deck link down there as well, and you guys can also check out and follow my journey on my Untapped profile, because I publicly share that information for you, so you can see how I'm tracking. And additionally, I have the companion app down there, so you guys can track your own statistics and share your stories as well. Now, this is a mono blue deck because, or mono blue mill, mono blue because it's only islands, so that gives us the mono color schema here. And then it's mill because everything in this deck revolves around mill. I'm going to pull Teferi's Tutelage here because this is a key pivot card in the deck. There are a few other ones, but many of you, in my opinion, this one is a linchpin for the mill, particularly blue, obviously, but we've ran this in the Jeskai version. We've ran this in some other versions as well that you guys can check out. I've seen it in some dimmer versions, but nonetheless, Teferi's Tutelage here is an enchantment. When it enters battlefield, we get to draw a card, then we also get to discard a card. Whenever we draw a card, opponent mills 2 cards. So very important there for you guys, and that's what this deck is all about today. Our win condition is all about milling out our opponent's deck. So as long as they're probably not playing something like a mid-range, and they're more of a late game deck, this deck should do well. So that is the objective that we have for today with this particular deck. I'm very excited about it. As I said, I've always been a big fan of mill. My first GP that I ever went to, I actually ran a dimmer mill deck for Modern. So that was a long time ago now, but fun nonetheless. And I'm always a big fan, and if I can make it work, I can make it work. Now, I'm not playing dimmer rogues as much, so don't obviously feel fatigued about this, but excited to play this one for you here today. So quickly, as a high level, we'll run through all these cards so that you guys can see them, and then we'll come back and talk about them individually here, because it's pretty important. So first off, we got Merfolk's Secret Keeper. This is an adventure card. It's not only a 0/4 creature, but we have a sorcery spell here with adventure, where target player will mill 4 cards for 1. We have the good old Merfolk Wind Robber. I like this guy in this deck too, because not only is he a flying, and does he when he deals damage, he mills a card on your opponents. We can sacrifice it too and get some of that draw advantage, which is going to be pretty big for us. So we can draw a card, activate this ability. Only if an opponent has 8 or more cards in our graveyard. So very healthy again in pairing with Teferi's Tutelage here. We also got Opt. So this is an instant spell, scry 1, draw a card. So very powerful. I also really like this card here, Overwhelmed Apprentice. It's really underplayed quite a bit actually, but I do like it for a couple of reasons. So when it enters, not only does our opponent mill 2 cards, but we also get a scry 2. So the ability to set our hand up for 2 turns is very powerful. A lot of people forget about that all the time. Then at our next one drop, we got Rune Crab. So getting this bad boy on the field early is going to be huge. It's got landfall. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under our control, each opponent mills 3 cards. We got Witching Well. So this is a nice one drop. When it enters, we can scry 2. We can sack it for 4 and draw 2 cards. So again, another ability throughout the match to get some draw. Again, pairing well with tutelage there. Then we got Zolport Duelist. So this guy's got flash. When it enters enters the battlefield, up to 1 target creature gets -2/0 until end of turn, and also its controller mills 2 cards. So a lot of people forget about this. I've actually seen this in a couple different off versions of Dimmer Rogues and other flash decks, and oddly it does fairly well, and people forget about it a lot. Then we got Anticipate here. So this gives us the ability to look at 3 cards of our library on the top, and then put one of them into our hand, the rest on the bottom of our library in any order. So the ability to search for answers is always very powerful. We have Anti-Cognition. So this is a pretty sweet card. It counters target creature or planeswalker spell unless its controller pays 2. But if our opponent has 8 or more cards in their graveyard, instead we get to counter it. So it's a hard counter, and we get a scry 2. So this is very powerful. I really like this card, and I also think this one's underplayed quite a bit. That ability to do the hard counter, even though it's direct on creatures and planeswalkers, you're going to miss a couple other things. But in a mill deck, that's more of our concern, actually, so it's set up well. We still get a scry 2, and I always like the fixing. Then we got just Jawari Disruption. So this is a modal land here. Counter target spell unless its controller pays 1. When it enters the battlefield, tapped. Otherwise, if we want it to, as that land versus that counter spell. We have Maddening Cacophony. So I really like this card. This is very powerful. For 2, we can mill 8. If we kick it, they mill half their library, rounded up. So this is very helpful. The 8 is probably what you're going to play most of the time, to be honest, unless for some reason you're not hitting a lot of mill cards. So you'll just have to make that decision at that point in time if you get there, if you're going to pay 6 and mill quite a bit, just depending on what the situation of the match looks like. Then we got Omen in the Sea. This is an enchantment that's got flash. When it enters the battlefield, we get a scry 2 and then draw a card. So again, nice teeing up for what we may need to find. And then additionally, for 3, we can sack it and scry 2. Then we got good old Teferi's Tutelage here. So when it enters the battlefield, draw a card, then discard a card. Whenever your opponent, or whenever you draw a card, target opponent mills 2 cards. So we already talked about that. And then Didn't Say Please. This is a really nice hard counter. Counter target spell, its opponent, its controller mills 3 cards there. So very, very nice. And then last but not least, we have Sublime Epiphany, a great top end card as well. Here we can counter target spell, we can counter target activated or a triggered ability, return target non-land permanent opponent controls to its owner's hand, or return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. So it can be yours too. Create a token that's a copy of target creature you control, and then target player draws a card as well. So this is choose 1 or more. So very, very powerful there. It works really well at the top end. And then here's what we got going on for lands. What I like about this a lot is the additional consideration of the Evolving Wilds to pair well with Rune Crab. Again, very low to the board, so it's a good choice. I really like Field of Rune in here. I like the ability to take out other players like Crawling Barrens, other like castles, those kinds of things that could be a problem for us, and other cards that are just non-basic lands. So very powerful. I think that's a great consideration. The only other thing that you may want to consider is actually having 1 or 2 Crawling Barrens in this deck. I think that could be really important. I think a Castle Vantress, the ability to scry and continue to set your lands up in some of the later games, could be very important. And then the ability to play maybe 1 or 2 of those modal lands, pain lands, the one where you can draw cards equivalent to your hand, would pair really well with Teferi's Tutelage if you get that far down. And from the Jeskai Mill deck that we played, we definitely know that if we can somehow get 2 of these guys on the board, our likelihood of winning is pretty high as well. Now, we got a little bit better focus here in terms of mill win condition here, which should pair and tee us up much better, in my opinion, than that Jeskai Mill deck did at times. But super fun deck nonetheless. So this is the main board for us today in our mono blue mill and our platinum to mythic 6+ win deck. Pretty excited about this. So then when we go to the sideboard, we have a ton of options. So let's try and get through this fairly quickly. So we got Merfolk Windrobber. You're going to play this against creature-based decks. I actually like it also against mid-range and late game. The ability to draw that card is going to be very powerful, so lots of good spots for that one. Witching Well, again, you're going to want to play more of the late game matchup, because if you're going to run out of juice, you're going to absolutely want to have this thing so you can draw the cards that you need. So this would be like a Doom deck, Yorion Control, any of the control decks, Dimmer Control, those kinds of things. And also not necessarily bad in the mid-range. If they aren't running more creature-based mid-range, that would work well. Anti-Cognition here is what you're going to run against aggro decks, early game decks, potentially mid-range game decks. So things like Mono Red, Cruel Aggro, anything running a Planeswalker as well that could be control-based deck. Like mono red control, mono black control, those kinds of things. That's going to be a good one for you too. Then, and that's pretty much anything running Ugin. Into the Royal. So this is another nice early game card against aggro decks, potentially mid-range, where you can return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. If it was kicked, we also get draw a card. I don't mind this against a Doom deck matchup either, so a late game matchup, this one is nice to put in there. Then we got another Jawari Disruption. I would play this early game for sure. Any aggro decks, it's not a bad one to have in there. Late game and mid-range, it doesn't really do you as much. So things like Mono Red, Gruul Aggro, Boros Knights, the Mardu Knights deck that we did yesterday. You guys can check out Warriors decks, those kinds of things. Brazen Borrower here. So again, this one's really helpful in terms of not only an alt win condition with the 3/1 flyer, but early game decks where we can return target non-land permanent opponent controls to their hand. It's got flash and flying as a 3/1. Good against aggro decks, good against late game decks, the Yorion Doom decks, Esper, Orzhov, Mardu, you name it. And then also against a lot of those other decks that we listed off that were fast paced. Good against mono green as well in terms of both the Stompy and the food deck. Then we got Didn't Say Please. This is a card that you're going to want to put in against other control decks. You're also going to put it in against late game decks because it's going to be very powerful against the Doom decks, very powerful against other control decks, like we said. Ultimatum, it's a good deck against. We're really going to block those things up and hold them back with a lot of these counter spells. Then we got Glacial Grasp. So this is a nice one here. It taps target creature at instant speed. Its controller mills 2 cards. That creature doesn't untap during its controller's next untap step, and we get draw a card. So 3 is a little bit expensive, but you're going to play this against aggro decks. This could make or break them being able to cast a good old Embercleave on a mono red deck, those kinds of things. So other considerations there that you always have to remember. Good against a Gruul Aggro in terms of slowing things down. You could actually tap down a questing beast with this kind of a thing. Then we have Midnight Clock. I like this against late game matches. Here we can get the added mana. For 3, we can put an hour counter on Midnight Clock as well, and then at the beginning of each upkeep, we get to put an hour counter on Midnight Clock. When the 12th hour is put on Midnight Clock, we shuffle our hand and graveyard into our library and draw 7 cards, and then we exile Midnight Clock as well. So this, for me, again, is that late game matchup. It's Yorion decks, it's control decks, it's going to be Doom decks, those kinds of things. Mystical Dispute, we have a slip, so we don't have it main boarded. but we do have it sideboarded. So here, this spell costs 2 less to cast when it targets a blue spell, and counter target spell unless its controller pays 3. Great against ultimatum decks, great against anything else running blue, rogue stacks, those kinds of things. A lot of these things are good against rogue stacks as well. You're also going to want to play this against anything that's running blue, any control decks like Dimmer Control, other mill decks as well. This is a good one to have. Then we have Salundi Vision. So here, this is another modal land. It enters the battlefield as an island, tapped, or we can look at the top 6 cards of our library. We may reveal an instant or sorcery spell from among them and put it into our hand, put the rest on the bottom of our library in a random order. I like this in late game matches. The ability to find answers is going to be very powerful for us, either at the end of a turn or in the middle of something. So you could cast this and hit another counter spell if you needed to, kind of a thing. So very, very powerful. That's kind of where I'd play that, and we'll give you some answers that you may need as well. So Planeswalkers, that is the sideboard. Now we're going to talk about how we align to an aggro mid-range in a late game matchup and how we board for that, because it's pretty important. So first off, against the aggro, I like the Merfolk Wind Robber still. Witching Wells a no-go. Anti-Cognition for sure. Into the Royals nice. Jawari Disruptions nice. Brazen Borrower can be nice. Glacial Grasp is something that I like as well. So that's 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8. So 8 cards. What would I look to move out? Honestly, I dump Sublime Epiphany. I dump the Witching Well here as well. So that's 2. These are all good. Anticipate, I would probably dump as well. So that's 3. And then what I would actually do is consider moving out the Didn't Say Please. So again, we're going to be really narrow on terms of hitting creatures, but that could be something else. So was that 4? So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if you want to pull in 3 other ones as well that you can move out, I would consider potentially an Omen of the Sea. Zulaport Duelist is nice. You may, the other thing that you could do too is if these are good, you may want to actually drop the Merfolk, even though it's good for the draw. That could be consideration. You're going to want to definitely set up with your Overwhelmed Apprentice, in my opinion, because you want to get to the Teferi's Tutelage as fast as possible. So those could be some spots. You could also change out an Opt if you wanted. So a couple of different things there in terms of where I would look to move. You could also drop 1 Maddening Cacophony, and you really keep 1 in there for kind of that key, again, ender for the win kind of a thing. So those could be some good spots for you to move things around too. So that's kind of how I look at it. This deck is going to be that will be the hardest matchup in my opinion, is the aggro. If they can move relatively quickly and they hit their curves, that's going to be the tough one. Unless we get some of these nice bodies that they can't get around, then we'll be in a good spot. Next, the mid-range matchup. If they're not as creature based, it's a little bit easier. If they're more creature based, can be a little bit more tricky. I still like the Merfolk Wind Robber for the draw. Witching Well, you may want to consider if they're more non-creature based. If they are creature based, Anti-Cognition. Into the Royal is return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand, so you can also do yours if you want to as well, so that's always a consideration. Jawari Disruption, you're probably not going to play. Didn't Say Please isn't a bad one. Brazen Borrower could be decent. Midnight Clock here, something I would consider. Mystical Dispute could be a consideration. Salundi Vision could be a consideration. Again, are we playing more creature based or more non-creature based? If we're going to play kind of like a Rakdos mid-range or Escape, I would probably drop the Duelist. I would also consider, I do like Overwhelmed Apprentice for the look and teeing things up. So you'll have a lot of things here to scry because you really want to get to Teferi's Tutelage, or get some counter spells in there that are going to make a difference. I would actually also then consider, depending on how I look at it, maybe dropping Merfolk Wind Robber down to 2, not pulling in as many there. You could always do 2 Overwhelmed Apprentices, drop the Zolport like I said, and then again, let's see here, Sublime Epiphany I'd probably drop depending on the mid-range type match. So good options there again, still to kind of move things around. You should be okay. And then we get to the last more late game type decks. You're going to want Witching Well. You're probably going to drop Anti-Cognition into the Royal. You might keep that. You're not. This you'll keep. This you'll keep. Midnight Clock and maybe Mystical and maybe Solundi again. And what you're going to drop here is Creature, Sublime. This time you're actually going to keep. I would probably pull out Jawari and pull in the Solundi instead. And that's kind of how you're going to think about switching those up. I would then also consider... my call again in terms of late game is definitely getting into Teferi's Tutelage. You're not necessarily going to need the Merfolk to hold you up. I like the Wind Robber better. It's nice to mill 4 and then dropping to 2 of these. So those could be some considerations. You could go lower on the ops as well if you wanted to, and that should give you enough in terms of how to move in. You're going to really want to make sure your counter game's on. If your counter game's on, then you'll be just fine. So that's really going to be the focus of those late game matches. So that should give you enough in terms of how you're going to board for some of those late games. Again, Doom decks, you just want to make sure you're pushing the Doom for Tolls back, and you'll be safe. You'll be safe there, or you got enough counters. So Planeswalkers, if you do got questions or comments, let me know down below. I think I forgot to mention that at the beginning here. I do also have a Discord server available for you, so you guys can hop in there and check that out. If you do got questions, always happy to answer. So that is what we have today, my friends, in terms of the mono blue mill deck. I'm excited to go take this into some competitive Magic for you today. So let's go ahead and make haste. So we are off here. I did the Mardu Knights deck yesterday, so you guys should check that one out. Super fun. Very close on my best of 3 match. Did not play as well as I was hoping, but that is how Magic goes. So today we are playing our mono blue mill, and I'm excited. If we can pull off a nice win with this one, I'll be pretty happy. So let's go ahead and try it out. Now, as we're waiting here, Planeswalkers, as always, a huge thank you again. I truly appreciate your support. Please feel free to subscribe to the channel down over there as I make my way and shoot to make my way for 10,000 subs this year. Additionally, like the video if you like it. You can like me on Facebook, follow me on Twitter and Twitch, stay up to date on content like this. I really like this starting hand, by the way. And also other great ways to support the channel down below in the description, like becoming a patron or YouTube member. I do deck list review, lots of great benefits for you guys. All right, so we are going to keep this. The only sadness is we're not first, but we got our turn 1 Rune Crab, we got a Merfolk Keeper, we have some counters, we got Maddening Cacophony, and we have the Tutelage. So all we're going to be missing here is a land. If we're playing a counter deck here, that could be good as well. So there's our next land that we need to get Tutelage on. So we got an Esper deck. I'm okay with that. We would have had such a nice time, my friends, if we would have had 2 on there. So they are running counters, so we have to be careful of that. Because we really, really want to get Tutelage on, so we'll try it. There we go. What do I want to get rid of here? Oh, I'm going to get rid of the Evolving Wilds. We've lost 2 Rune Crabs, so it's not as valuable for us right now. It would have been super powerful though, super powerful. Now, as long as they don't have a Doom Foretold here, we'll be okay because we have the counter. So what we need to decide is, do we keep this? We will keep that one. So what do they have? View battlefield, view browser. So good news is we can mill here. We're gonna go grab. Keep milling. How many dooms is that? 2, 3. Woo! 1, 2, 3, 3. Now we could do this. So let's look at their, what do they have here? Do they have any basic lands? A couple plains. I'm gonna do this. We'll hit that one. Grab our blue. And we'll put our robber in. See, look at that. They had no they had no basic lands left. See, that is dirty. That is super dirty. So we got 20. We got quite a race to go here. So here's our pull. Oh, very nice. We got it. Now, that was a lovely, lovely best of one match, my friends. That is also why you play those destroy lands, because if you mill and they're not playing enough regular basic lands, they're going to be set back on their turn like that. So that was very powerful. I'm glad, very glad we were able to do that today. So that pretty much, that's going to make it for me, but you guys should stay, hang out, and let's see what else fun stuff we can do here with our mono blue mill deck. Hi guy, it is. So again, right off the bat, I'm going to keep this. So the challenge that I'm actually going to have here is I'm actually going to play this. I'm going to go grab that because I want my turn 2 on Omen. Now, if we can move quick enough, we may be okay. We'll see. We really have to hit well here. Because Trill of Crumbs is actually going to hurt him. And we have enough counter. Do I want to keep that guy? I think we'd pop that back. Nope, still got him anyway. Oh, what do we want to keep? Keep the land. Let us drop. The robber's still good. This still gives us 2 and we get a look. So I'm gonna get rid of that guy for now. That is, he's a few turns away still. 6. Dun dun dun. So we have a couple of different options here. Scoos are gonna have to hit all their own stuff, which is fine. It's gonna not be fun, but it's fine. Grab our lands. We'll play this guy. Now, I could play Robber. How many do they have? 1, they got 4, they could play that. So now we're off by 1, so that hurts. Now we still have the Evolving Wilds too. Take our land. Oh, they're gonna look. So what are we at here? 37. If we get another land, we can hit him with Maddening Cacophony. For almost 20. A block on the scoos. So 27. 27. So we can scry 2. That's not going to hit. We'll look. So we could draw 2. That will be, put him down 4. So as long as they don't hit a land, we'll be okay. Might have a chance. They're at 18. Oh, there it is. There it is. Good game. Oh, it's close. Really close against the mono green food deck. So very, very fun best of 1 matches. Worked out well. Like I said, a couple things maybe that I'd change up. And then obviously let's go play best of 3, my friends. Looking forward to this today, as always. So let's go ahead and take our mono blue mill into our traditional standard rank best of 3. Again, there's that Mardu Knights deck we did yesterday. You guys can check that one out. But we are playing our blue mono blue mill deck. All right, so let's go ahead now. Planeswalkers, as always, a huge thank you again. I truly appreciate your support. Please feel free to subscribe to the channel down over there, looking to make 10,000 subs this year. And additionally, please feel free to like the video if you like it, if you enjoy what's happening, if I'm a terrible player, if I'm a good player, whatever, you have it. Additionally, you can like me on Facebook, follow me on Twitter and Twitch, stay up to date on content like this. I will play first. Additionally, other great ways to support the channel down below in the description, like becoming a patron or a YouTube member. So let's go ahead, and great other ways for us to interact. So let's go ahead. I'm actually I'm actually really torn on this hand. I'm gonna mulligan. Well, we're first, so actually let's keep 7 because I can look at the top 3. So let's do that. Oh, this is definitely not what we wanted to hit. Let's see what we got here first. Oh, and on top of that, they're running that. All right, so we can get 8s that way if we want to play. We're gonna shake it up anyway, so let's dump those. We'll pop that on. I'm okay with that. This is a good card though. Field of Ruin, do we go? What do they got here? Let's do this first. So we can get rid of Castle Embereth here. Honor that. So we still got another one. Not enough yet. I got 2 things I can play here. One, 2, 3, 4, 5. We can almost kick both of these. This is our next play. This is a huge mill. Let's dump that one. I'll take it. I'm literally, because I don't have a chance, unfortunately. I really just wanted to play this for kick. To see their deck. So here we go. Let's see. Playing the regular mono red. Alright, it's red cap. So a little surprised actually to see so much mono red in best of threes. Kind of. It's a great deck, obviously. So here is what we are going to do. We need to be very fast paced. So this I like Into the Royal. These two I like. This what are we gonna drop? Sublime Epiphany would have been nice. Witching Well's gone. I do like Zolport Duelist still. Brazen's good. The Grasps are good. That one worked nice. Anticipate helped us. Let's be too slow. Woman of the Seas, we gotta go low on. Alright, I think this is what we're gonna try here. I'm gonna go one more Cacophony. All right, let's try that. So we moved everything up. We made it more creature focused, delay or slow down at turn 3 if we can get there. If we get one match out of this, I'll be happy because this is a tough matchup. I will keep this. We don't have the tutelage, but we got this guy. And I have Juari, so turn 2 I can block. Oh, it would hit their Phoenix right away. Enough for my draw yet. There we go. Let's do this actually first. So what I'm trying to do is maximize what I do have here on the board. Let's see what we got here. Oh, this could be close. We'll see. So I can hit with this, I'll get a draw. Oh, that's going to be game because they'll attack with everything. Don't want to hit the bone. We'll hit Torbrand. Because here's the cleave. Oh, so we did better that game. We got him to 16. So 16 without any tutelage. Pretty happy about that. So nonetheless, knew that this was going to be probably the hardest matchup or one of them for us. Pretty happy though, despite what happened. Super fun matches. We split best of one, had a great first match. Played out really, really nicely. This deck really excels against those mid to late game decks. And then again, as we talked about in terms of those aggro decks, a little bit more painful. We did pull things forward like we talked about, but just did not hit well. Obviously, any of the matches where you're going to start with that tutelage in hand is going to be super beneficial and really, really help. It did not help that they were also mainboarding the Phoenixes to bring things back. We never did see it. They kept flooding the board, but nothing we could do about that. So again, Planeswalkers, here's what we have. We played a mono blue mill deck today. Super fun, pretty fast matches actually, mainly because you have a one kind of win con. As I mentioned, things that you could consider obviously are throwing in some Crawling Barons. You could also consider again popping in some of those Brazen Borrowers for delay, those kinds of things that have that alternative path. Just something to think about. But again, this is really focused on that mill. We did a nice job, at least winning that first match there, so very happy about that. We got to see the deck how it worked at Totality. We didn't play Sublime Epiphany. That was something I pitched, but we did get tutelage going. We did get to see this kicked, and then we got to see pretty much everything else in action. And then my favorite play was that Field of Ruin into destroying their non-basic land, and they couldn't go pull one, so that was pretty awesome. So Planeswalkers, with that said, again, if you got questions or comments, let me know down below. We have the Discord server down there too, so you guys feel free to hop in there. Would love to see you. And again, as always, huge thank you. Please feel free to subscribe to the channel down over there as I try and make my way towards 10,000 subs here this year. And additionally, like the video if you enjoyed it, like the gameplay. If you hate mill, you can like it too. So anyway, with that, Planeswalkers, feel free to like me on Facebook, follow me on Twitter and Twitch to stay up to date on content like this daily coming your way. And last but not least, other great ways to support the channel down below in the description, like becoming a patron or a YouTube member. So all right, here's what we had today. We had a blast. Mill still has a nice spot in my heart. I love this kind of archetype. So super fun. Planeswalkers, if you do blue, like I said, have questions, let me know. Otherwise, enjoy the deck. May you mill your opponents out with mono blue today, and may your milling be lucky hits. So with that, I'll see you guys again soon. You take care, stay safe, and until next time, we do got a lot of stuff coming your way. So stay in touch. We'll see ya. Mithras out.